Catholic Bible 1, Lesson 3, The Angels and the Fall of Our First Parents. Besides the visible, God also created an invisible world, namely His angels. At first they were good and perfectly happy, but in time some became dazzled with their own perfections, and, yielding to pride, revolted against God. Michael and the other angels that remained faithful fought against them, vanquished and overthrew them, together with their leader, Lucifer, who was also called Satan. But Satan, fallen and lost, began to contrast his misery with man's happiness, and, raging with anger and envy, resolved to seduce man from his obedience to God. For this end, he made use of the serpent. One day, while Eve was looking at the forbidden tree, the serpent, coming near, asked her why she did not eat of its fruit. Eve answered, God had forbidden them to touch it, lest they should die. But the serpent artfully replied, they would not die. On the contrary, their eyes would be opened, and they would be as gods, knowing good and evil. Eve looked again upon the tree. Her curiosity was excited. The more she looked, the more the forbidden fruit appeared enticing. At length she stretched forth her hand, plucked the fruit, ate, and gave to Adam, who also ate. This was their first sin. Immediately their eyes were opened, out far otherwise than they had ever expected. Covered with shame, they sewed together fig leaves and made garments for themselves, and trembling, they hid among the trees. Now the note in the lesson teaches us that from one tree came ruin, from another, the tree of the cross, came redemption and victory over sin and the devil. Now at the end of your lesson are some questions we'll go over. Question 1. What was created? What was created? And we read in the lesson, besides the visible, God also created an invisible world, namely His angels. Question 2. At first, what were they? At first, what were the angels? At first, the angels were good and perfectly happy. How did they fall? How did the angels fall? In time, some of the angels became dazzled with their own perfections, and yielding to pride, revolted against God. What is said of Satan? What is said of Satan? We read that Satan was their leader. He was also called Lucifer. He was fallen and lost, and began to contrast his misery with man's happiness. And raging with anger and envy, he resolved to seduce man away from his obedience to God. How did Satan tempt Eve? How did he tempt Eve? He made use of the serpent. Satan made use of the serpent. Did Satan succeed? Did he succeed? Yes, he did succeed. One day while Eve was looking at the forbidden tree, the serpent came near and asked her why she did not eat of its fruit. And Eve spoke with him, and she listened to him, and she ate the fruit. What happened to Adam and Eve? What happened to Adam and Eve? Adam and Eve's eyes were opened, out far otherwise than they had ever expected. They were covered with shame. They sewed fig leaves together and made garments for themselves and hid themselves among the trees, trembling. What is said of the tree and the cross? What is said of the tree and the cross? What is said is that from one tree came ruin, but from another the tree that made the wood of the cross, came forth redemption and victory over sin and the devil. Well, that's the end of Lesson 3 of Catholic Bible 1. I hope that was helpful. If you have any questions or you need any help, please feel free to contact us anytime. May God bless your studies.